Hi everyone, welcome back to WesKnows Tech News and Reviews. Today we've got an exciting comparison between the Amazfit Bip 5 and the Redmi Watch 3 Active. So these two trackers are basically sitting there on the gray line between fitness trackers and smartwatches. These two trackers offer huge screens. They have heaps of sport modes, and there are a lot of overlaps and some key differences between these two trackers. So this is what this video is about today. So let's get ready to rumble in this head-to-head. Let's do it. Now, as per usual, I do buy my trackers on AliExpress because the delivery times are very short now. We're talking about 4 to 8 days depending on where you are in the world. I'm in London in the United Kingdom, and it takes usually around 5 days for me to deliver these trackers, but the prices are way cheaper than on the high street. So of course I go to AliExpress, and I will be leaving links to both of these trackers in the description below the video. So make sure to check these out if you want to get a sharp price. So now let's get into this comprehensive comparison of these two fitness trackers. Firstly, I want to talk about the design, because obviously these two trackers do look very similar indeed. They've got humongous screens. They've got very similar straps. They're both silicone. If we start off with the straps, well, on the Redmi Watch Active 3, which is actually a cheaper tracker, you get a much more luxurious strap. So this is a clip and tuck feature strap. It's velvety, it's soft, it's so thick, it's nice. Now with the Amazfit Bip 5, now this is a nice strap. It's also thick. It quite comfortably keeps your wrist and the watch on it, yet it's a bit more thin. And again, it's a mix between the classic watch tab buckle as well as a tuck-in feature. Now that's more convenient than what we have on the Redmi, but again, it just feels a bit cheaper in a strange way. Now, let's talk about the actual cases. Well, you will be able to see that the Redmi actually gets a metal finish around the case. Now, this is steel. This is awesome. So for wear and tear, this is great. Also, in regards to looks, it just looks much more expensive than it really is. While on the Amazfit Bip 5, the case is plastic. Just completely and utterly plastic. Fine, it's not the disgusting grey matte plastic. It's a bit glossy, but still, if we look at the cases, yeah, the Redmi is better here. It does look better. But then again, there is a bit of a curvature on top of the Amazfit Bip 5, and that does look pretty cool because it sort of follows your wrist on the top. And that sort of looks okay, but the curvature is so small that nobody will really notice except for you when you've opened up the box and had a look at the tracker. If we talk about the functionality and the usability, well, the fact is both of these trackers get a button on the right-hand side, and that is exactly what brings these two trackers so close to a smartwatch experience. So not only are they touch activated, you actually get the button to press. So you can set it up for long presses, and you can go back, you can return back to home. So it increases the functionality, especially when your hands are wet or sweaty, and even if you're in the pool, it just really helps with the navigation of the watch. So both of them get it. That's pretty much it. So if we talk strictly about the design, I would say it goes to the Redmi Watch Active 3. Now let's talk about the displays. In regards to the displays, well, the Amazfit Bip 5 definitely gets the upper hand. So if with the Redmi Watch Active 3 we get 1.83-inch LCD TFT display, with the Amazfit Bip 5 we get 1.91 inches. Fine, it might not be that much bigger, just 5%. But what that means is that, well, the parameters or the dimensions are very similar. So the only real difference is that on the Amazfit Bip 5 we get slightly more thin bezels than on the Redmi. Also, it comes down to the resolution. The resolution is about 260 ppi on the Amazfit Bip 5, while we only get 202 ppi on the Redmi. Now, personally, I don't think it's that massive of a difference, but the brightness factor is a difference. On the Redmi, we get 450 nits of brightness. On the Amazfit Bip 5, we get 600 nits of brightness. Also, in regards to the actual GUI and how smooth the applications, the widgets work, well, yes. So everything is a bit more fluid on the Amazfit. But again, I love the way the Redmi works. It's just as smooth. It's just slightly more, I can't say it's laggy because it's not, but it's just not as smooth in the transitions as the Amazfit Bip 5. Both of these trackers don't get ambient light sensors, and that's a bit of a shame. So if on the Redmi I get it, it's a $40 tracker. On a $100 tracker from Amazfit Bip 5, I just don't get it. Auto brightness, there is nothing major about this. All we need is an ambient light sensor here, but we don't get it on neither of these two trackers. Also, neither of these trackers get always on display. Now, I don't use always on display because it really drains the battery, but still, none of these two get it. In regards to battery life, well, they've got similar battery sizes. So on the Redmi, it's 290 or 289 milliamp hours, while on the Amazfit, we get 300 milliamp hours. So with typical usage, the manufacturer claims 8 days on the Redmi, 10 days on the Amazfit. Well, in reality, the Amazfit does actually pull in at least a week, while the Redmi doesn't do more than 45 days. But again, a week or just under for either of these two trackers, that's pretty cool. Now let's talk about the features and functions, because here is where some overlaps exist, but there are some key differences as well that I need to note. When we talk features and functions on this channel, we're not going to get into the minutest details like the timers, the stopwatches, the weather widgets. No, we're going to talk about the main functionality. So when we talk about sensors, we talk about stress monitoring, sleep monitoring, we talk about SpO2, so aka blood oxygen saturation, or your heart rate monitoring. Well, both of these trackers have equal functionality. In terms of sleep, yep, you do get your sleep score. You can see your sleep charts right on the watches or on the screens of these trackers. You don't need to go to your app. And they both monitor your deep, light, and REM sleep. Also, if you nap for over 20 minutes, these two trackers will pick those naps up. So that's pretty cool. They both monitor your heart rate and SpO2 continuously throughout the day, as well as your stress. Now, they're both 5 ATM water resistant, meaning that you can take them to the pool with you and they will automatically pick up your swimming activity. So considering these two trackers actually get a microphone and speaker, it means that both of these watches support Bluetooth calls. That means that if you're connected via Bluetooth connection to your smartphone, you can actually talk off your wrist from these two watches, and that is very cool. So on the $100 Amazfit, well, that sort of makes sense. That's a pretty cool feature. We're in 2023 going into 2024. That makes sense. But on a $40 tracker from Redmi, that is completely and utterly unexpected, super cool, and the actual quality of the speaker here is very nice. So you can hear the other side clearly. The microphone picks up sounds very clearly as well. So impressive on both. But now the difference here is that with the Amazfit Bip 5, we also get Alexa. And Alexa is an AI assistant. We get no AI assistant on the Redmi. And what that means is that you can actually ask questions like your weather, your directions. You can ask Alexa to record a shopping list, set up alarms. So there's slightly more functionality on the Amazfit Bip 5 because of the AI assistant. Now, is it a deal breaker? If this was the only difference, I would still choose Redmi. But now we're going to get onto sport modes and you will see why Amazfit Bip 5 does cost significantly more than the Redmi. Let me tell you all about it. So in regards to sport modes, we have 100 sport modes on the Redmi. We've got 124 on the Amazfit Bip 5. Now, all of these exercises are goal-based, meaning that you can set an objective to your exercise. For example, for walking or running, it can be a distance goal, a time goal, or a calorie to be burnt goal. There are also 6 auto-tracked activities on either of these two trackers, which is pretty cool. You can also broadcast your activities from these trackers. So let's say you're walking or running once again, and then you can actually broadcast the results. So lap times, or when you've reached a particular lap distance, such as a kilometer or 1 mile, and the watch will actually tell you through the speaker that you've met such target. So broadcast is available on both. But now, with the Redmi, there is no inbuilt GPS, meaning that all your distances, speeds are calculated via a connection to your smartphone, meaning that you can't really do any exercises where distances are involved without your smartphone. While on the Amazfit Bip 5, we actually do get inbuilt GPS. But there is no inbuilt storage here, meaning that you can't really record any media onto here and to keep you entertained on those long runs, walks, etc. without your smartphone. So there are compromises with these two trackers because they're not full-blown smartwatches, but both of them offer key services of sorts. Great sensors. In regards to sensor accuracy though, and if we talk about heart rate monitoring, well, I've actually measured the heart rate accuracy of these two trackers. And if the Redmi is out about 10% from the average of high intensity interval training activities, the Amazfit Bip 5 is only out by about 5%. So it's got a better heart rate accuracy. But once again, let's talk about price. So over here with the Redmi, $40, Amazfit Bip 5, $100. Quite a significant difference. But does Amazfit Bip 5 offer 2.5 times better functionality? Well, it all depends on how much you value inbuilt GPS as well as an AI assistant. Personally, I don't use the AI assistant all that often. So for me, doesn't really matter. But the inbuilt GPS does matter. Anyways, I will be leaving the links to both of these trackers and their listings in the description below the video, so make sure to check them out if you're after some sharp prices. Thanks for watching this head-to-head comparison of the Amazfit Bip 5 versus the Redmi Watch 3 Active. If you found it interesting and useful, please drop me a like. And if you want to see more of the same, you know what to do. Please hit the red subscribe button below the video. And I'll see you in the next one.